Do you know why it took me a while to get my job and the mistake I was making? You know why it's taking you a long time to get your job and the mistakes you were making, and most likely the mistake I made during the interviews? Well, let's find out. Now, frankly speaking, I was making a lot of mistakes, but there's this one crucial mistake that I was making that was throwing me off. And this is why I made this video, to convey my message, and hopefully this helps you out and a lot of other folks. Hi, welcome to my channel where I talk about software engineering and finance for software engineers. I'm currently a senior software engineer at an e-commerce company. Let's get started. So you're going to see a tons of videos like 5 mistakes you're making, 3 common mistakes you're making, and that's why you're not getting hired. I mean, that's cool. That's totally fine. But those come in later on in the picture. But if you're actually giving interviews right now and you're finding out it's not working for you, you're not getting hired for whatever reason, well, this is the video for you that you want to watch. And I want to give you all the information that helped me pass and the mistake that I was making, so that way you can catch yourself now and get past that. I went through this as well, and now I'm making this video to make it easier for you. And I want to talk about my mistakes, my journey, what it took for me to make it. So every time I would study for these interviews, I would feel confident. And when I would go to these interviews, I would be asked the opposite of what I studied, right? So I'm sure that's common amongst a lot of you as well. And this happened for a good amount of my interviews. And obviously I would receive my rejection emails saying you were not selected. We moved on, passed on, whatever the message is. Usually when I come out the interviews, I know if I did good or not. I have some sort of consciousness feeling that, okay, you definitely didn't do good. Okay, you maybe did good, but I definitely have some insight if I did pass or not. So some of the interviews that came up next in the next week or in the next month, they did ask me similar questions, and those questions were related to what I studied. So I was a little bit confused. Okay, so now some of these companies are asking me similar things to what I had studied, and some of the previous companies asked me completely opposite what I had studied. So that's why I was confused. I was just all over the map. I felt like driving without any directions. And it was even a bit more difficult just because I'm self-taught. I was dropped out of college and things were a little bit more tougher, I guess you can say, because of that, because I had no actual insight. So I had to learn the hard way. But as time went on, I started to realize something, that every company is different. They have different ways of interviewing. They have different interview questions, obviously. But I started to notice something. I noticed that they're only going to hire for the people that fit best for the job, obviously, right? But hang tight there. That's a point that I'm going to elaborate more on, and which will completely make sense as this video goes on, I promise you. Now, to make sense of the previous statement that I just said, so some of these companies would ask me algorithm questions and data structure questions, and some of these would ask me more project-based questions. Some of these might be more of like, okay, here's a bug that we have in our application right now. Let's collaborate and code together and try to fix it. So that way they can see my communication skills, team working skills, etc. and whatnot. So the goal is, or the point is, that every company has their own way of doing things, and which is okay. You just have to learn how they do it. Even though they were all very different questions, they actually were still around coding questions so they can evaluate my skills. So mostly I would not pass these interviews because I didn't know what they would ask. I'm applying to a lot of these companies and I have interviews every week or every other week, and I'm all over the map in terms of what I'm going to study. So when I go in there, literally, they can ask me anything because I don't know what they're going to ask me at all. Now, I obviously would get very emotional, or whatever the word is, not encouraged anymore, but you have to hang tight. And as time went on, I started Googling things. Google came to rescue, and I discovered there's a tool or a platform called Glassdoor. Now, if you don't know what Glassdoor is, it's a platform where employees can submit the reviews about the company, about the CEO, about benefits, about the salary that they're making in a rough estimate, and also the questions that they're getting asked during a interview. So this is very popular amongst software engineers. Now, when I went through Glassdoor, it definitely shocked me, because when I did search the previous companies on Glassdoor, I think if I had done that before, or if I knew about this then, it would have helped me a lot. At least it would have gave me some sort of syllabus to go off of from, versus just being in the open water and not know anything. And also I can practice wisely, right? If I know what to practice, I can practice more efficiently, get the right knowledge. The best way to use Glassdoor is whenever you have an interview, make sure you search that company up on Glassdoor and find out all the questions people have submitted, so that way you can review them and use that as a tool to help you succeed. So you want to study those topics, practice those questions, also practice more follow-up questions, and don't just memorize them. Now that's the other thing I want to talk about. Use this as a tool. I'm saying this over and over again because you don't want to memorize these solutions. You're not going to pass. If you do memorize these solutions, they will know. Your interviewer will know, and they will definitely change up the question based on how you're giving the answer. I mean, this is what they do. It's their job to interview. So do not memorize. If you do, you will not pass. You will fail. The best way to go about this is find out what questions that are being asked, study those topics, practice those questions, practice a lot more questions, practice more similar types of questions, and that's how you're going to actually pass. You're not going to pass by memorizing at all. Glassdoor is there to help you, show you what companies are, or what companies have asked in the past, not what they're going to ask you next. There might be a few questions that you might get from Glassdoor, but you don't want to take the chance of doing that, right? You might as well learn the knowledge because you're going to need it when you get the job. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough ending. So use the tool in the correct manner, put in the hours that you need to put to learn everything, and practice. That's how you will get hired. Now, please subscribe, like, comment if you like the video. It helps out the algorithm a lot. This is how we can get this video in front of other folks that can benefit from this, and it can help them out as well. I'll keep making videos around this topic. Just let me know in the comments.